Welcome to the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast. I'm your host, Deb Reuben. So, crypto might be the last place you'd expect to find a lesson in human connection. But what if that's exactly where we should be looking? In a world of networks, chains, protocols, it's easy to focus on the tech. But the real breakthroughs, they start at the nodes, not just the code, but the people. Today, I'm joined by Chris Cummins, a returning guest, an awesome curious explorer who recently stepped into the world of crypto as a speaker at Consensus. So cool. So we're going to explore how meaningful human connections, like nodes in a network, can spark transformation across systems, industries, and futures. So just a little bit about Chris. Chris Cummins is the founder of Cummins Media. He is a super curious explorer, bold connector, and an awesome friend of mine. In his first visit to the Catalyst podcast, he shared his journey as a change agent and community builder. And this time he's returning fresh from the Consensus stage, which is a crypto-focused event where he took on a new frontier. Rather than getting lost in the tech, Chris leaned into something deeper, the role of human connection in shaping the future. So he's joining us to share what he learned about courage, crypto, and creating meaningful connections in a fast-moving high-tech world. So, Chris, thank you so much for rejoining me. Welcome to the show.
Deborah, thanks for having me. I really enjoy our conversations, and I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Ever since you told me that you were going to be speaking at Consensus, I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to hear all of your takeaways. So I can't wait to geek out. Before we dive into your insights from the show, though, I'm just really curious, like, what's the backstory? How did you end up speaking at Consensus? Because that's a pretty big deal.
You know, one of the things you know about me is that I value human connection, right? The book that's not quite complete yet, but it's the human side of business. And you've seen me interact with people and keep in touch with people. And I've shared some of the ways in which I like to keep in touch with folks and interact. And I spoke at a conference called GMID, Global Meetings Industry Day. So this was a combination of Meeting Planners International and event planners and meeting professionals. There were like 5 different sort of acronyms all gathering for this GMID. And I spoke at this Global Meetings Industry Day. And as happens when you're on a stage, you know, people come up to you afterward and they say, that was refreshing. Like, wow, thank you. You know, let's keep in touch. Okay, let's keep in touch, you know? And what I've noticed many people do is we say, yes, we'll keep in touch. And then I kind of don't, right? What I like to do is I like to research that person. Let's figure out who they are. Let's learn a bit about them, right? And the short story is that I sent one of my video emails to that person. I said, hey, it was awesome to connect with you. You know, looking forward to future conversations. Noticed I'm on your LinkedIn, and then I switched my camera over to LinkedIn. Noticed you're on LinkedIn and you're doing these things. You know, if ever I can help you just as a buddy karmically, let me know. And left it at that. I think 2 years later, you know, she surfaced and said, hey, I'm organizing this thing. It's called Collision Conference. Can you speak at it? And I was like, no, I can't. I'd love to, but I'm booked for those days. Can't, you know, let's keep in touch. Okay. Maybe a year later, she circled back and said, we're having these planning meetings and our clients at Consensus have said, we want to move fast and break things. We want to try things that may not work. We've got this innovation stage. I think you'd be perfect for it. And I said, "Ooh, what are we going to be innovating at a crypto conference? I mean, that's already pretty innovative, Deb." And so that's how it started. Was you just be good at stuff and then keep in touch with people.
Well, and I mean, it's not like a new innovation, but you're constantly practicing and applying it. I love the way that you're always using your video emails to just kind of shatter the status quo in following up. I think that's just such a unique approach. And I don't see it that often in my world. So that's cool.
It's funny, you know, I used to think that, I'm just going to type in TomorrowZone here. I used to think that, you know, oh, well, video emails, this is a thing everybody's doing now, but they're not, right? And if I can just go into geek mode for a second.
Mm-hmm.
if I can just go over here, if I'm doing a video email, I'm like, hey, Deb, I'm on TomorrowZone. I love your website. I think this is just incredible, the kind of stuff you're doing. Let me just zoom in here for a second. And you go, staying ahead of tomorrow. I mean, this is awesome. You send a 35-second video like that. People often they're stunned and they say, I expected to hear back from you, but I wasn't expecting a highly produced video. And the thing is, I don't highly produce the video. I do it in real time. There's no editing afterward. And that seems to leave an impression too. In fact, this person that is a phenomenal meeting planner, since having the opportunity to work with her at Consensus 2025, she said, when you sent me that video, I was like, who is this guy? What? More, please. And she wanted to learn how to do it as well. So then I helped her achieve some of her goals, and you just keep in touch with people. So she knew that I value human connection. I like to innovate human connection. I like to try new things, and much like you do as well. That's, I think, why we get along. So when she said our client is looking to try stuff that might not work and innovate with human connection, we've got 15,000. Deb, 15,000 people at Consensus.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Right? Many of them are not huge introverts who are running around shaking everybody's hand. How can you help us? And I said, we're all nodes on a network. We are metaphorically humans nodes on a network, but now we are legitimately nodes on a network. Everyone's got an IP address in our pocket. And I said, let me share some insights around that and get these humans colliding with one another. And she said, if you can do that, grand slam home run. And so that's what we did.
I love it. Well, it's an interesting approach to being able to reach people in that space. Because, I mean, an event like that, it's like Disneyland for nerds, And they're all over innovating with the technology, but the human connection is the piece where, a lot of us need help. So after being immersed in the crypto space, I'm curious what stood out to you as the most relevant insights for leaders that are navigating complex change. I mean, there's a lot going on in the crypto world, a lot of changing, especially, at least in our country, even in the government levels, and that's opening new opportunity. And so what stood out to you?
What stood out to me was you've got 15,000 people, many of whom paid. I'm trying to remember what the fee was. I think it was $2,500 per head. Might have been $5,000 per head. And they had a VIP tier of 10,000 or something. And as a speaker, I was invited into that group, which, by the way, is interesting. You go into that break room. It's the same as a normal break room, except everyone there paid for the VIP experience. And therefore, they're all doing fascinating things. Fun little side note, they had 2 shoe shine stations in that VIP room. One was for dress shoes and one was for running shoes, Deb.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
So, because half the people are in dress shoes, half the people are in running shoes. So there I am getting my, leather dress shoes shined beside a dude who runs a whole bunch of crypto conferences in Singapore, who's getting his, that toothbrush run along his running shoes to make them white again. And he and I are connecting and, we should do so we're going to do some collaborating. I got down from there and I walked over to the coffee table, and there's a gentleman in charge of essentially cryptocurrency for a country that shall remain nameless, but not a North American country. And fascinating connections. So here's to answer your question, Deb. We have 15,000 people at this thing. All have paid inordinate sums to attend. And all want to learn new things and make new connections. But so many people were not colliding with one another. They're walking past each other, right? You walk through the booth area, and all of us walking through the booth area are doing our best not to make eye contact with the person at the booth, because what if they bang me on the head and steal my wallet or something? So the strangest thing, in my opinion, about conferences in general, especially in 2025 and moving forward, as we become more phone-centric and less effective at human communication, is we go to these things to collide with people and make new relationships, and then we don't do that. We go talk to the 6 people we know, or we look at our phone and hope no one makes eye contact with us. So when we were planning this, I said, you've got 15,000 people. How many are going to be in the session? I ended up doing 4 different sessions. There were, I think, 5 stages in total. And I was on one of the stages called the innovation stage. And I said, it sounds like you want to create human connection. I said, yeah. So most of them introverted or extroverted? Oh, most introverted. Okay. We're going to push their comfort zone. And in my segment, I'm going to teach them some psychology, some human persuasion, some human connection stuff. Then I'm going to force people to pair up. And then I'm going to force those pairs to interview each other. Tell me about you. Tell me about you. Okay, cool. Now, and here's what I said from the stage. I wish we had a camera angle of my point of view. So here I am on the stage. I'm saying, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to get very uncomfortable. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone near you that you do not know and just make eye contact with them. And the two of you lock so you know you're looking at each other. I'll give you 10 seconds to do that. I'll count backwards from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Deb, when I got to 6, people are like, oh, are we doing, do I have to do this? 5, 4, fine, I guess, 3, 2. And they're kind of like, they're very reluctant because they're so nervous and they're so fearful. Yeah. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of ridicule. List all the fears, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember this one lady in the front row, her arms are crossed and I could see her face. She's like, I can't believe I'm in this stupid session. Can't believe this stupid guy is making me do this stupid thing. Well, she turns to the person beside her and he turns and they awkwardly, oh, hello. And I said, find out their name, find out what started them on the crypto journey. That moment where they had an aha moment where they thought there's something here like that. Share that. And your job is to just get to know their journey and their name, where they're from. You got that? Okay, good. So gave them that instruction. They all paired up. Noise, roar, people having conversations in the room. And I preloaded. I said, when I count backwards from 10, that's your turn to look back at the stage and give me your attention again. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. And we got their attention again. I said, okay, you have a name of someone beside you, yes? Just raise your hand if you remember their name. Okay, cool. Raise your hand if you don't remember their name. All right. Raise your hand if you're not going to raise your hand no matter what I ask you to do. That's got a laugh. And that always does well, actually. There's never been a time when that hasn't gone well. And sure enough, they all remember each other's names. I said, okay, now you're standing beside one another. Yes. I want the two of you to make eye contact with another pair of people and lock in so you know who's looking at whom. I'll give you 10 seconds to do that. Your job is to go over there and not ask them who they are. Your job is to introduce the person whom you just met to those two other people. It was incredible, Deb. Incredible. And the sponsor of the event was a stablecoin. The head of the stablecoin came up to the organizers of Consensus and was like, this was fantastic. What a refreshing change. Real, deliberate human connection. So then these quads are meeting one another. So I did that twice during each 20-minute segment. So you're leaving that room knowing 7 more people, give or take.
And you're actually doing a physical demonstration of how a network is formed.
Yes. And so you are a node with an IP address or whatever, a MAC address at least, right? Maybe if you're not online, you still have a MAC address. So you're standing around there, oh my gosh, what do I do? Some nodes are big and there's tons of traffic. Some nodes are tiny and there's nothing happening. Maybe your node's not plugged in. So I use these metaphors, right? So what I'm asking you to do is sort of pop your head up into the network and look at the flow of traffic. And sometimes people say, oh, that person's so fortunate. You say, no. That person puts themselves in the way of the fortune. You stand back here hoping fortune's going to hit you. It doesn't. But you stand out in the traffic, you're going to get bumped into by good fortune, right?
Yeah.
So that concept wasn't lost on them. And it was just so fascinating to watch the ice break, you could see on most of the people's faces, right? And even back row, front row, they're like, I can't believe I'm in this segment. I was hoping to just veg out and not make eye contact with anyone and just listen to some guy and watch him read his slides to me. And now I have to do a thing. So the discomfort was so high to the point where I was thinking, oh, geez, this might not work. So here I am experiencing the fear they are that, oh man, I'm the guy on stage who's been hired by and trusted by this organization to try a thing that just might not work, Deb.
Well, how perfect, though. I mean, you were way out of your comfort zone on the move fast and break things stage. Moving fast and breaking things. I mean, you were like breaking people out of their comfort zone in a big way. I mean, that's just phenomenal. But also, it's interesting, your approach, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot, working a lot with technical people that tend to shy away from conversation. whenever, it's a necessary conversation or putting themselves out there like you were demonstrating. And often the challenge is they don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I've found that's like the thing that holds people back is I don't know what I should say. I don't know how to start this conversation. So they don't start the conversation, but you actually walked them through and demonstrated just how easy it can be to start colliding in an environment that's actually designed for that to happen.
I want to sort of peel back the curtain a little bit as well. It was really deliberate. The exact phrasing of the questions, I would say as a facilitator, one of the most important things we can do is create the right questions. We don't have to know the answers, but we create the questions, right? And so when you said, Chris, you showed them how easy it is, sort of, what I also did was I gave them, here's some handrails. You don't have to try to walk on your own. You can hold on to this handrail and this handrail. Example of the handrails. Look, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to talk to you. I'm sure you don't want to talk to me, but this jerk with the white shirt and the blue jacket, he made us. So it's his fault, not mine. We can deflect it, right? Look, I'm sure you're as uncomfortable. So I address that. You're going to be talking to this person and the two of you are both going to be thinking we're just as uncomfortable, but this guy in the blue jacket just told us we have to do it. In fact, I think I took the jacket off. So number one, address the discomfort and recognize it's not your fault or your fault. It's his fault. This guy made us do it. So we sort of lower the pressure, right? It's not you randomly walking up to someone and saying, hello, can I take your wallet? No, that's gross. That you're going to try to pitch me or sell me something. So we made it easy. The other thing was the journey part. Every human, we have our stories. So if you say, hey, how was traffic? Hey, it's hot today, isn't it? Or did you notice it's cold tomorrow? Like those don't move conversations forward. Those are just noise on a network. But if we know that every human has their, I think we called it the crypto origin story. So I asked them to think of, before I even put them into pairs, I said, just grab a pen and write down 3 or 4 bullets. What's your crypto origin story? That moment where you decided, there's a thing here. I'm fascinated. This is interesting. What's going on? Like that thing, write down that first interaction you had. For me, it was when my son and I were researching miners. We were thinking, let's build a mining rig. We started researching, the graphics cards and the power consumptions and all of these things. And, that's when I was thinking, oh, there's a thing here. There's a thing, right? Yeah. So I shared that. This is my origin story. And when I thought there's something worth considering. And so what is your origin story? Take notes, write down your origin story. By the way, this may help you later. Yeah. And then we go through more psychology and human connection. And here's some stuff and things to know from, William James, one of the fathers of modern psychology. And here's some other, teachings. And hey, do you remember your origin story? Yeah. I want you to ask someone else their origin story. Here's what we're going to do, right? Make eye contact, go connect with them, ask them their crypto origin story, maybe their name, something, that brought them here. And they're going to do the same. You're going to interview them. They'll interview you. So I didn't just show them it's easy. I made it like paint by numbers, very low risk.
Well, and I think you also keyed into a couple of really important things. So people like to talk about themselves is one. So like that origin story, that's a really fascinating one. I use that all the time in my world too. So we always talk about what's your equipment finance origin story? How did you end up in this industry? That's one of my favorite questions to ask because everybody has a story to tell, and then it makes it a little more easy to remember. I'm curious about that. Using story seems to be one of those things that as humans helps us to remember more. And you said that you were polling people, hey, do you remember the name of the person that you just met? Curious what the results were on that.
So I have something to report back to you as well. So by the end of it, I said, do you remember the name of the person you met? Yes. Do you remember the name of the other 2 people that you met? Yes. And then we discussed some things and then I forced them to go do it again. So they had 2 groups of people that they've now interacted with, right? Mm-hmm. as happens, I'm sure it's happened to you as well. People follow up after a convention or they send you a thing on LinkedIn or they connect somehow through social. We get in DMs and this one gentleman was very anxious to speak. And so, I sent him my booking link and we got a call on the calendar. And we had probably an hour conversation where he debriefed his experience to me. And he said, I've been to all kinds of crypto conferences. This was so refreshing. You've pushed us outside of our comfort zone, but then we got this huge payoff of human connection. And we're on Zoom, right? And he's like, Chris, I got to tell you something. And this was a month later, maybe more. He said, I have to tell you something. I said, what's that? He goes, I still remember all their names.
Wow.
I have goosebumps right now. That's what we were looking for. That's not just here's my business card, call me or don't. I'm sure we're going to forget each other within 80 seconds, 90 seconds. Here we are a month later, and he says that exercise caused me to make meaningful connections with 7 other people or whatever the number was. And I still remember who they are. I remember their first name, their last name, the company they're with. I remember where we were standing when we were having the conversation. He said, that never happens at conferences.
Yeah. You lit up their brains in a whole new way as they were making connections. I think that's really brilliant.
So if you think about it, we're going back to that analogy, right? If we're all nodes on a network, we created like a supernode, right? Like a little blink. Okay, now there's 8. So now you have one person who may or may not want to achieve a thing, who then has 6 or 7 other connections they've made. And I'm big on the ripple effects of human connection. I mean, if something comes up, and I emphasize this, don't just look at these people as potential sources of value. Look at these people as potential people you can help and give value, right? And I like to emphasize it, give value first. Like turn this value equation around. Instead of running around saying, hey, how can I get value? Take it, take. No, just become a super connector. Give value to other people. Just just give value. Help other people achieve what they want. Right in the 80s, I think it was Jim Rohn that said, it was either Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar said, you'll get what you want in life if you would just help enough other people get what they want in life. That really sank in. That's part of my operating system. So I said, consider not, how can I extract value from these 7 connections? You probably will, but don't start with that. Start with, how do I pour value into those 7 connections? Because it makes you memorable. It makes you a super connector. People want to connect with you on LinkedIn. People invite you to boards. Like opportunities will show up in your life because every time you interact, they get more value than you take from them.
Well, and also it just kind of makes you feel awesome when you can do that. I watch you live that all the time.
The part that blew my mind was this gentleman circling back and saying, I've been to lots of crypto conferences. I've never seen that level, that depth of human connection created so rapidly. I thought we're onto something.
Yeah, I think so. I was really curious about what you were doing because this is not an isolated thing. It's not just happening in crypto. I see this challenge all over the place. So, this is something that I've thought about a lot, especially, after the events in 2020, 2021, where the way that we connect and communicate radically shifted. How do we engineer these environments for human connection? Because I feel like, and I'm totally going off script here from what we had planned to talk about, but I mean, I feel like we've kind of lost something along the way in terms of our ability to connect. And I don't know if it's just me, but, coming out of the events of 2020, 2021, and the way that the world had shifted and, for a while we weren't allowed to communicate and connect in the way that we were used to, I feel like the pendulum swung in a bad direction for a while. And now it's like trying to get back and reconnect has felt really, really hard in some cases. And when we do have these instances to get together, like putting yourself out there, yeah, it feels awkward and uncomfortable. And it's not just in the tech spaces.
Agreed. And my theory is that we're out of practice.
Yeah.
Like we have had to learn how to self-isolate and all that stuff, even though, lockdowns were X number of years ago now. I think as humans, we're more, we hide in our phones. I find Getting people to show up at social events is more challenging. Getting people to attend a free webinar that they've signed up for, the show up rates are lower than ever, and that's fine. It's okay. If you're trying to sell something, I don't do webinars, but I know many people that run webinars, and they say show up rates keep falling and falling. For paid events, people that pay $100 or $200 or $500 to attend a live virtual event, still show up rates are fascinatingly low, and you have to text and email and text to remind them to attend. So then when you say, hey, get on a plane, invest heavily in overpriced hotel rooms now, there's going to be a lot on the line if you're paying $400 a night for a hotel, a couple of thousand for various travel, your opportunity cost, taking 3 days off of your calendar and running your own business or being an employee for that matter, and then go into this room where you're out of practice making new connections. Oh, and by the way, we've got all this sunk cost now, so you better make it worth it. And all these people are sort of walking around. They finally get the guts to go try to persuade someone to do a thing, but really it's self-serving at that point because we're desperately trying to extract value from this amazingly huge investment we've just made, the emotional investment, the financial investment, the sunk cost investment, all of the things. So now we have a lot on the line. And then we walk up to someone and we say, hey, I've got a lot on the line. Can I extract some value from you? Meanwhile, that person is thinking, I need value too. And we're colliding in awkward ways, right?
Yeah.
So we're out of practice.
And it's counterintuitive now, what you're teaching. Because, going back to what you were saying earlier, you have to flip your focus. How do I give value first?
It's rare. I read an interesting book. I can't recall if it was the 3 Gs of leadership or the 5 Gs of leadership by a gentleman named Tim Cork, Cork. And let's say it's the 3 Gs of leadership. I don't recall. But the 3 Gs were give, give, give. And one of the things that really stuck with me and resonated with that Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, teaching about giving value first, Tim Cork in this leadership book, he says, remove the word networking from your vocabulary and instead practice net giving. Stop being the person at a networking event trying to hand out 100 business cards and extract things from people. And instead, I got this concept from, I think it was a book called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. He said, treat your business card like a $100 bill. Like, you don't just hand out $100 bills to everybody. You hand out a $100 bill to someone that you really meaningfully connect with. Same thing. Don't go to a networking event with 100 people and come home with 99 business cards because none of them are going to know who you are and you're just going to spam them anyway. Instead, go to an event with the intent of making 3, maybe 4 meaningful human connections with people. They'll remember you, you'll remember them, you help them get what they want, or you become a connector, you help them meet someone who can then help them get what they want. They remember that and they circle back. That's human connection. That's like I say, the human side of business, right?
Yeah, I love this so much. So a lot of our focus is the human side of innovation in business. So it's very compatible with how we're thinking. So I'm thinking about, of everything that you've shared, the big themes that I'm hearing is, first of all, your intention. Why am I showing up and how am I showing up? Showing up to give first rather than receive first. But then also reframing. I love that reframe from networking to net giving, but thinking of yourself as a node on a network and putting yourself into the line of traffic so that you can be available for those serendipitous collisions to happen. So what you shared about was how you facilitated this experience so that people could walk away with real, memorable connections, at least 7. What if you're out at an event on your own? I'm just thinking about business leaders, professionals getting ready for their next opportunity to make something different happen in terms of the way that they're connecting with people. What would you recommend for people to prepare for that?
This is an easy question to answer. Think of your interactions in terms of how you can help the other people. Because again, back to the network. I mean, the net giving, it almost sounds trite, but the idea is stop trying to extract and instead add, right? We use the networking analogy in computers, like you're a packet switcher, right? There's a packet coming in. Do you keep it? Do you send it out? Do you readdress it? What are you doing with it? And if we're all nodes on a network, not all the packets are going to be for you, right? You got to sort of send them on to the thing. So if you're at an event and you're just trying to say, how do I get information? How do I get value? Where can I? And all the things come to me and I've got the things now. Okay. Is that as effective as maybe approaching someone and saying, hey, what's your equipment finance story? Or what's your crypto origin story? Or what brought you here? What are you hoping to achieve? Something I ask all of my keynote clients when they're hosting an event. I say, so why are you running this? What the phrase we all use, what does success look like to you? Or to paraphrase Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach, he taught me, if you and I were to meet a couple of weeks or a couple of years from today, and we look back on that, time period and we think that was a grand slam home run. Like, what has to have happened at this conference for you to have that? Oh man, I'm here because I'm trying to achieve X, Y, A, B, D. Cool. You're trying to achieve those things. Well, I can't help you with them now, but let's text one another at crypto. Everybody's either on LinkedIn or Telegram. So, here's my Telegram QR code. Here's my LinkedIn QR code. Let's connect. We want to text each other. My job is over the next 3 days of the convention, I'm going to see if I can find someone I can introduce you to that can help you with that. Would you be willing to do it? Yeah, happy to do that. And by the way, if you know of anybody who's trying to achieve, please let me know. Okay, great. So now we have a connection. Not give me your business card, not text me 4 months from now trying to spam me, but we're connecting meaningfully as two human beings. Tell you what, I ignore unknown numbers. So let's just text one another right now quick so we know who it is. Hey, this is Chris. Hey, this is Deb. Okay, cool. This sounds too granular, but it's really important, Deb. Because 15 minutes later, you're going to forget who that number was. And then you'll be looking at 15 contacts going, I don't know who these people are. So here's the little hack.
Yeah.
You take a selfie with them. And you text them that selfie in the moment when you're doing it. So you're like, hey, this is Chris. Hey, this is Deb. We got the selfie. Now I can remember who she is and I can remember that conversation. And I'm looking at my notes. Oh yeah, she runs TomorrowZone, trying to run these things, looking for this kind of opportunities. Okay, cool. Chances are I'm going to meet somebody who probably is interested in something that person's doing. So I did this at Consensus 2025. There was this leader of electronic currencies for quite a large country, a European country. He was in the VVVIP room near the shoe shine station, and he said, we're looking for somebody who can. Okay, I got your guy. I'll make the introduction. That's valuable.
Absolutely.
And now I can circle back in a month or two and say, hey, how did it go with so-and-so? Loved connecting with you at the shoe shine station. Wasn't it a riot? We could polish our running shoes and our leather shoes. So when you ask, what can we do? I would say, find out what other people are trying to achieve. And then be on the lookout for other people who want that at the convention. You become, in the words, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, right? A super connector. But it's not just, give me your business card. If I find someone, I'll let you know. It's, give me your Telegram QR code, or we connect, we share each other's names and or LinkedIn profiles with one another. And we take a selfie that we're sending to each other. Now, my friend, I've done this so many times, Deb, like 5 years later, you can forward the selfie to the person and say, ha, you came to mind the other day. I was at a thing. I just really enjoyed chatting with you. How are you anyway? Without the selfie, you don't have receipts.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is you're making it really easy to just genuinely connect as humans. There's nothing else to it. It's real.
And where it backfires is you collect email addresses and put them in a spreadsheet and then put them in a mailing system, and then you email everybody. They don't know who you are. They don't know why they're suddenly on your list. They don't they don't have that level of human connection. So instead of going to a place with 15,000 people and trying to make 1,000 new connections that you can put to your mailing list and spam them, make 9 connections over 3 days. and then help those 9 people achieve what they're trying to achieve at the convention, you're going to have ripple effects through those 9 people. 9 factorial, right? There's going to be a lot more that comes from that than just making superficial bump into someone at the line for coffee. Hey, how was your commute? Oh, I flew in, got in late. They lost my luggage. No way. I know what airplanes can be like sometimes. Anyway, see you later.
Yeah.
That's so many of those superficial conversations at conventions that I think we can just do away with.
Yeah. Skip the small talk, but create a meaningful and memorable experience together. I mean, that's what you're doing, and you're like skipping so much of the nonsense.
So what brought you here? Like, what does a Grand Slam home run look like for you as to why you're attending this convention? What are you trying to get out of it? I'm doing, but whatever they say after that is ammo to help them get what they want.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
And by the way, they get to talk about why they're there. They get to talk about themselves. Humans love talking about themselves. And then because you remember their name, you take the time to introduce. This happened at the meeting, at the consensus. I met someone. Are you still on the trade show floor? Yeah. Okay. We're by the thing. We're at post D. Come on over. I want to introduce you. Deb, this is Chris. Chris, this is Deb. The two of you need to jam. I got to run, but you have to talk to each other. Okay. That's so effective compared to randos walking up to randos, right?
Yeah. I love it. Well, you bring a whole new feeling to, this thing that can be so uncomfortable for folks, networking. Now we're just connecting and adding value. And that's just so much more fun. I wanted to ask you, what's one myth about human connection and innovation, crypto, business, whatever, that you think needs to be retired?
One myth is that you need hundreds or thousands of connections, right? Email lists, 30,000 people. It's the numbers game. It's we're going to hit a certain point in the not too distant future that everyone's AIs are going to be talking to everyone's AIs. And we're going to say 3 sentences. They're going to come up with 15 paragraphs. That's going to come over to here. This 15 paragraphs are going to be distilled down to 3 sentences, and it's going to be sent to the person. There will come a time when we actually will need to shortcut that and have this human connection again. But I believe right now how many followers do you have? Only have 50,000 followers. How many you have? I've got 4 million followers. Oh, okay. Is it about the number, or is it about the quality of the relationships? And one of my mentors, a guy named Jeffrey Gitomer, who wrote probably dozens of books. One of them that I really enjoyed was called The Black Book of Connections. He also wrote the Platinum Book of Cha-Ching and the Gold Book of Getting Your Way, the Yellow Book of Yes Attitude. There's all kinds of really cool books.
Does he have a pink book?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But he does have.
What that would be.
He wrote the Sales Bible, and then the Little Red Book of Selling was his big one. Anyhow, he said, it's not. He said that it was really cool. He said, Chris, we think that it's, who you know. Right? They say before you go to college is not what you know, it's who you know. After you go to college, it's not what you know, it's whom you know. Not really. It's who knows you and who's speaking highly of you. Just because you spammed 1.7 million people doesn't mean they know you and they're speaking highly of you and they vouch for your integrity and your business chops. So I think one myth is that I need to know a lot of people. No. You need a lot of people to know you. And most importantly, and when I say knowing, I'm like a deep knowing of, yes, I trust that person. Yes, they are legit. Yes, they have the chops. Yes, I'll put my reputation on the line and say that person is worth meeting, So I think a myth that needs to be retired is the volume play. I think you need to go to a convention with 15,000 people. You need to leave there with 6 to 8 meaningful human connections. Not the let's stand around, hold hands and sing Kumbaya stuff, but like getting to know the human, understanding some of their fears and what they're trying to achieve, and then helping them achieve that. That's way more powerful than the numbers game.
I love that. That is so valuable. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights. What a fantastic opportunity. And I just love the way that you open it up to help others to create opportunity in their connections.
Well, it's great fun. I enjoy putting good people in touch with good people to do good things. For whatever reason, my brain gives me a little drip of dopamine every time that happens.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap it up with that. So to our listeners, I encourage you to think about your own network. Think about, what new nodes you could light up by thinking about giving first. What's one way you can stretch beyond your comfort zone to really connect genuinely with someone unexpected? I think that, what we talked about today just really underlines that the power of innovation isn't about technology alone. It really is about people who are willing to link up, learn together, and move forward to shape a more awesome future. Chris, thanks again for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, stay curious and choose to make awesome happen.